I'm Elex Michaelson. This week, the issue is climate change. So if he's watching this, what's your message to President Trump?
Oh, my only message would be resign.
An exclusive one-on-one with the former Vice President of the United States, Al Gore, on the state of the climate and California's war with the Trump administration. Plus,
so don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
some think it's Nike who is crazy to throw fuel on a bitter controversy by using athlete activist Colin Kaepernik as its spokesperson. But the company just did it anyway. That and more with our panel, actor and activist Gilles Marini, legal analyst Sara Azari, and RNC committeeman Shawn Steel. The Issue Is starts right now.
I can call you Daddy, and Daddy, when you call me, you can call me out.
Over the course of a remarkable life, you can call Al Gore many things. Among them, Vice President, of course, the man who came closer than just about anybody ever to the presidency, and in Act 3 of his life, perhaps the best-known advocate in the world for the environment.
I am Al Gore. I used to be the next president of the United States of America.
Al Gore debuted his environmental documentary An Inconvenient Truth back in 2006, laying out the dangers of climate change. He'd go on to win an Oscar and a Nobel Prize.
It is wrong to pollute this earth. It is right to give hope to the future generation.
In 2017, an Inconvenient sequel hit theaters.
Have no doubt about that. We will win this.
Now, Gore's focused on the Climate Reality Project, which he founded in 2006. The group recently held its largest ever conference at the LA Convention Center, attracting more than 2,000 activists from around the world.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Gore teaches them about how to talk to neighbors and friends about climate change.
Hi, Alex. Pleasure.
Backstage, the former vice president sat for an exclusive interview with The Issue Is. What is the most important thing that the average person can do when it comes to climate change?
Well, there are two kinds of things that people can do. First of all, in our own lives, we can change the light bulbs and the windows and the insulation and be a climate conscious consumer. That sends a message to the marketplace that's actually being received and making a difference. But the second thing is even more important. As significant as it is to change the light bulbs, it's way more important to change the laws and policies. So as citizens and as voters, we need to give the message in an unmistakably clear way to candidates running for office, to elected officials, that we need to put a price on carbon, we need to conserve energy, we need to switch over to renewable sources of electricity and sustainable forms of transportation and agriculture and policies that save the climate. Many people are still not aware of what the scientists are just kind of screaming from the rooftops now. This is a global emergency. It truly is. Look at the temperatures going up to these record levels in California this year. Look at the fires. Look at the events all over the world happening on a daily basis now, just as predicted. And when they tell us it's going to get worse if we don't change, we've got to listen. And when we see the alternatives that are affordable and make life better for all kinds of reasons, we need to change.
What is California doing right, and what is California doing wrong?
Well, California has been the leader among all 50 states, partly because of the great leadership of Governor Jerry Brown. I'm a big fan of his. He's a friend, but I really admire what he's doing. And California has set the standard that other states are now aspiring to. So that's all to the good. Transportation is still a challenge in California, as it is in all parts of the United States, because the biggest source of emissions now is from cars and trucks. So defending these higher mileage standards that California has set is really important, and accelerating the shift to electric vehicles.
California's really in a fight right now with the Trump administration. Yeah. I interviewed Ryan Zinke, the Interior Secretary, recently. He said that the regulations of environmentalists are what's to blame for a lot of the fires, not climate change. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think everybody knows to discount what this current administration is doing and saying. They've made the EPA, the CPA, Coal Production Agency, instead of protecting the environment. And of course, they are really out of step with what every other country in the world is trying to do now.
I know you met with the president when he was president-elect in Trump Tower to talk about this issue.
Right.
I know that he watches a lot of TV. So if he's watching this, what's your message to President Trump when it comes to climate?
Oh, my only message would be resign. I mean, I don't mean to be flippant about it, but I did have a dialogue with him, not only when he was president-elect, but continuing in the first part of his first year in office. But then it became clear to me that there was no chance of him changing in his efforts to promote more dirty coal use, more air pollution, more global warming pollution. So I think now it's really important for those who care about the climate to focus on these elections coming up this November. If there was ever a time for the American people to say, our Constitution has checks and balances in it, let's have some checks and balances on the White House with some independent thinkers in the Congress who will not just jump whenever President Trump says jump.
So when you say resign, is that just about the environment or is that about everything?
Well, look, I'm devoted to our Constitution. I know we have the regular order and processes, but you asked me what advice I would give him. That's the only advice I would give him. I don't think he is prepared to listen to advice.
For years, you had an inconvenient truth. You won the Oscar. You won the Nobel Prize. It felt like we were moving in your direction. Do you feel like we're now going in the other direction? Do you feel like we've gone backwards? And do you feel in some ways like some of what you've done, you're losing?
No, I don't. We're not moving fast enough, but we are definitely continuing to move in the right direction.
If you had won and you became president on January 20th, 2001, how would the world look different today? How would the climate look different today?
Well, I like to think that we would have made a lot more progress. I certainly would have done my best to assure that.
I mean, anything specific? I mean, what is the specific difference? Maybe as people think about the midterms now, the specific difference on how the world looks different if you get a Democratic Congress versus getting a Republican Congress. What does that mean real world for people's lives?
The Congress can ensure that we reject some of these nutty ideas about using taxpayer money to subsidize dirtier air. That's nuts. That's absolutely crazy. It hurts people's health, hurts the environment and the climate.
When you see these massive fires and see all of these issues, is there any part of you that says, I told you so?
Oh, no. And the scientists whose warnings I have merely conveyed from them to people who will listen to what they have to say, they grieve the loss of time that we should have used to get started on solving this crisis. But the fact that their warnings were absolutely spot on right should cause us to pay more attention to what they're saying to us now. Higher temperatures, more fires, more drought, bigger rain bombs and floods and mudslides like the one in Santa Barbara County last year. These are consequences that we are already having to live with. But what about our kids and grandkids? If we didn't act, how would we answer to them?
For people that say climate change, it doesn't exist, I don't want to hear it, what do you tell these people? What do you say to the climate change deniers?
Well, don't take it from me, and you don't even have to take it from the scientists who are virtually unanimous in their opinion. Take it from Mother Nature. Every night on the TV news is like a nature hike through the book of Revelations. I mean, seriously, just open your eyes, watch, listen. People in California have certainly been getting a lot of messages from Mother Nature about this, and people all over the world are also.
Vice President Al Gore, thank you for the time,
Thank you.
sir.
Yeah, I
really
appreciate you
it.
taking the time.
Thank you very much.
So a lot to unpack there and a lot to unpack in a crazy week in politics, and we got a great panel to help us do this. When we come back, we've got Shawn Steel, Sara Azari, Gilles Marini. They're all with us. Stay with us.
A look at my favorite view in all of Southern California, Griffith Observatory. Gotta check that out if you haven't been there yet. Welcome back to The Issue Is. We've got a stellar panel this week. Gilles Marini is with us. He's an actor, writer, and activist. You saw him dominate the ballroom in Dancing with the Stars, one of the all-time best dancers they ever had on that show. He's also well known for that scene in the Sex and the City movie. Good for you. Sara Azari is an attorney and legal analyst. She's been seen on a variety of TV programs, including here on Crime Watch Daily. Shawn Steel, a member of the Republican National Committee. When President Trump stepped off the tarmac at LAX, the first person he greeted was Shawn Steel and his wife, Michelle, who is an Orange County supervisor. Welcome to you all. Welcome to The Issue Is.
Thank you.
Great to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
We got this anonymous article in the New York Times, this op-ed from a senior administration official who says that this person is part of the resistance and people inside the administration are actively working against the president to stop him from his worst impulses. That happening at the same week that we get the excerpts from Bob Woodward's book, which is full of quotes from people within the administration, essentially saying that the president is not fit, not mentally qualified to be president. Sara, what do you think's really going on here?
Look, I think you've got the timing of these two. You've got the op-ed and you've got Fear, Bob Woodward's book, and they're all saying the same thing. These are all people very close to Donald Trump who are saying the same things. They're saying he's abusive. They're saying he doesn't know how to do his job, that he doesn't do his job, that he's unfit. And I think, instead of focusing on this witch hunt in the West Wing, which is what Donald Trump is doing, and today he's called the Department of Justice to investigate and find out who this anonymous person is. They have a list of something like 12 suspects who they're trying to pin down. Instead of doing that, he should focus on why. Why is it that all these people think I'm the same? What are these flaws and how can I be better?
And Shawn, what do you make of the substance of what that article says?
I think it's almost a nothing story, but I want to make something clear for the record, and this might be newsmaking. I did not write that letter. Now, honest to God. And so you got some wannabe senior official. I don't know what that means. It could be 1,200 people. There's a possibility it doesn't exist. It was made up in the New York Times.
It's also possible that it could be somebody very high-ranking. Gilles, what do you think? Do you think that the president is mentally capable of being president? Do you think that he is qualified to do the job?
It's interesting and very interesting question because I think that number 45, Mr. Donald Trump, never done politics. This is not his cup of tea. So he's allowed to do and say things that any other president or any other politician, if you say any of what Donald Trump says, maybe your career will be over already because you are a politician. You have to handle yourself in certain manners. He doesn't, and he doesn't care. And it's a one-man show, my friends. Yeah. And this is what's happening.
If you just look at his Twitter feed, it's insanity. Okay. It's an unhinged person who is not stable. Just in his Twitter feed.
That's a fair question. Read it. Actually, you're wrong, but because everybody can make their own decision. He's the most transparent president we've ever had.
Shawn, if he's so transparent, why not sit down with Robert Mueller and release the tax returns?
He had his own attorney spend 30 hours with Mueller. Let's talk about Trump on two levels. There's Trump, the Twitter king, and there's Trump, the president. And a lot of people on the left and mainstream media don't understand there's a difference.
There is no difference.
There's a huge difference.
There is no difference when you're firing your aides on Twitter, when you're making decisions on Twitter. Twitter is the platform that he has chosen for his presidency.
Shawn, we cannot minimize what people say.
This is not like we're keeping our social media life separate from our real lives.
He doesn't like the establishment. He breaks the rules. He's a bull in the china shop, and that's part of his charm. Not everything he does on Twitter I like. There's a lot that I don't like.
I think he's a misogynist. I think he's a racist. I think he's a bigot. And I think he's unpresidential. And for all those reasons, he should make it
outside of that, he's got some pretty good characteristics. I can tell. But nobody has been as successful of a president as he has since Ronald Reagan.
Well, one other interesting...
In just a year and a half.
Another interesting point from this. If this person really feels this way, is it right for them to continue to work in the administration? Is it right for them to do this anonymously, or should they resign?
I think when somebody feels that strongly about where they're working, whether it's in the White House or otherwise, they should just leave. And if they want to stay there and voice their opinion like this person has, they should have the balls to come out with their identity.
I like that.
But that's my job. We agree on something.
No, we
What do
do.
you know?
We do.
But it's not just one person. That's what makes this interesting.
Right.
You've got a situation where you have Bob Woodward's book, which
Right.
has dozens of sources.
Dr.
You
Wayne
had Michael Wolff's book, which had sources.
It's an unsourced book. It's a book of fiction.
You're wrong.
Okay,
You're
so that
wrong.
maybe we have.
He's a veteran
Let's get-
journalist of over 45 years. He's covered 8 presidents. He's got 2
I'm
Pulitzers.
sorry, no
And-
credibility over here.
Well,
Bob's a
you'd
nice
be-
guy, but I
you'd
wouldn't
be
take him out
making
the
a mistake
coffee.
to attack Bob Woodward.
Jill,
Let's
you
just
get the
leave it
last
out.
word.
Well, I think more than anything, if I know in my heart there's maybe someone with a lot of common sense in this Oval Office, around the Oval Office, and they can maybe tame the beast, would be lovely for the world, because we're only 5% of the
The
world.
beast is not tameable. That's the problem.
We don't know.
Let's leave it there. Up next, Colin Kaepernik becomes the face of Nike, and the internet melts down, as do many Nike shoes. Are you more or less likely to just do it? That's when we come back.
So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
Nike chose Colin Kaepernick as the face of its Just Do It campaign as it celebrates 30 years. The company both celebrated and eviscerated online. So what do you think at home? Let's talk about it with our panel, Gilles Marini, Sara Azari, Shawn Steel. Gilles, what do you think?
Well, I think it's when it comes down to the corporation, Nike was very, very smart to do that because making a lot of noise, no matter what it is in this climate nowadays, brings money. So that's why they did it, I believe. And then when it comes down to Kaepernick, I'm with the guy. I didn't see him flipping off the national anthem. I didn't see him like running away when the music starts or whatnot. I just saw him take a knee. So it is just something that he wanted to raise an issue, and he accomplished it. So I don't care how good he played football or bad he played football at that time. I think there's something sometimes more important than yourself, and he proved to all of us that that's it.
And that was his point. Shawn, you agree with that?
Well, actually, I don't. I think Kaepernick's a pretty uninteresting, dull person. And he took a cheap shot at police, and he made part of his whole attitude is that he's not a very good football player. We know that nobody's hiring him. Secondly, he's a multi-millionaire from his initial contract, and then he finds a way to try to save a failing career by being a contrarian. But you know what? The boycott, that's so American. I like the idea of a boycott, but you don't have to do it. It's free market.
But almost every football analyst that I've talked to say that he would be playing in the NFL if it wasn't for this controversy.
Right, he got dinged because
he may not be a starter, but he at least would be a backup.
Well, he's done more damage as one individual to a major franchise in sports.
He's done damage because he's essentially silently protested.
I'm glad you agree with me.
No, I don't agree with you. And I don't think it's about his athleticism. This is about somebody who's never going to be forgotten in American politics and history. I mean, he's beyond being an athlete, good or bad.
Well,
it doesn't matter anymore.
I would say he certainly helped Trump get elected. He was one of the factors that the great middle class, the great unwashed, the great working class are so upset with people like Kaepernick that has so much money, so much wealth and power and attention and devotion and loved by the Hollywood elite. And you see, this guy's he's an ungrateful human being that really does our country.
How is he ungrateful when he's protesting?
Yeah.
When he's protesting,
he's lost nothing. He's getting rich.
He lost his job.
I think somebody that is silent and he's protesting, we should at least a little bit give him some credit about this.
All right,
because he didn't create any tension anywhere else.
We're going to have to leave it there. A reminder that this show and every show we've done is now streaming as a podcast. Just search for The Issue Is wherever you stream. Up next, big changes for the Oscars. Good idea? Stay with us. A big issue this week is the issue of the Oscars. There was this idea that there was going to be a popular film Academy Award. Apparently now there's not going to be, or at least not for a while.
Gilles, should there be a popular film Oscar, or is it a good idea to get rid of this?
I think the idea is simply coming from the fact that there's a lot more younger viewers and they like more the MTV Award, even the Emmys, the Golden Globes, something a little bit more fun.
I think it's a good idea that they diss this. I think, keep it simple, less is more. Also, popular is rather vague to me.
2 points on this. Nobody watches the Academy Awards anymore. I mean,
some of us do.
They're losing a lot of market share. They know they're doing everything to try to juice it up and try to make it nice. It's become a political hack show. And then secondly, what's worst about that? None of us are members of the Academy. If they would make that change alone, that would boost their membership.
Well, we all agree on that. I want to vote. Thank you so much, guys. That's all for tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going to be reporting from Orange County as former President Barack Obama campaigns for local Democrats. Look for that report on the Fox 11 News all evening. Have a great weekend, and as the music says, it's time to say goodbye. Good night.